Hello and welcome to my channel, Play with Curious Sunshine. My name is Sarah and here we talk all about play. I talk about what play means, what it means to step into and embrace playful living, and how we can apply play to things that maybe don't seem as playful on the surface. So if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, or share this video with someone who you think would find it useful. All right, so today we are gonna do something a little different, and I will be giving a book review. So I'm really excited because this book, it was just like a really interesting read, and I'm just excited to share some of the insights and feedbacks and stuff that I've gotten from it. So, what book, you may be wondering? Well, I will be giving a small review on Homo Ludens, a study of the play element in culture by Johan Huizinga. I don't even know if I'm saying his last name right, but Johan. So, yes, I'm excited. It was, yeah, super interesting read. So, let's dive into some takeaways, some feedbacks, some things that I felt like stood out to me. So first, I want to talk about why I chose this book. I want to preface this as like I like to read, but I'm not like a hardcore reader like that. Like I may read like 1, 2, maybe 3 books a year. Completing them and reading them from the first to last page is a different story. But I do find joy in reading about things that are intriguing. And so one of the reasons why I chose this book was because the perspective was something that I haven't really seen before. A lot of the books about play that I've read were more from like the neurological scientific study type approach, or something along those lines where we're looking at the studies of play and how it shows up in children and the benefits of play through X, Y, and Z. And so this one's different because he really talks about how play or the play element is a vital component to culture building, and how humans have used play and these ideas around play to sort of create the culture that we see today. And I just thought it was a very interesting take. And it's funny because I knew this book existed, but I guess at the point when I first found out about the book, I probably wasn't ready, or on this like business play alchemist journey, and I wasn't at the level to where I can really like receive it and honor it and see it in the depth and in the way that I see it now. Yeah, he just really plugs play into all these ideas and concepts around culture that in a way that I haven't seen before. And it was really nice because I felt like the overall message of how integral play is really matches the depth and the weight that I view play. And so it's like, when I look at how play is kind of viewed now, it's very surface, very fun, very jovial, very like child's play, or it's very action based where we're actually just doing something playful, versus this take really takes it a step further of like, this is how play has shaped the human culture. And so Homo Ludens is Latin for man of play, kind of like Homo sapien, man of thought, man of mind. Homo Ludens is man of play. So really showing or kind of communicating that like the next like evolution, I guess, in human culture is play, which I am a firm believer of that as well. And so moving on to like just kind of diving into the book a little bit, I also want to state that this book was written in the 1920s and was translated from Dutch. And so taking that into consideration in the following takeaways that I present, because this is from a very old, it was almost 100 years old. Um, yeah, it's almost, if not over 100 years old, that this text was created and translated. And this comes from European perspective. So I will give my 2 cents on what I think about that at the end. But let's get into like the cool stuff that I found in this book. So something I loved is that the book starts off with the writer kind of setting up the parameters of play. So we're not looking at what play looks like, feels like, emotional or mental, but really examining what are the proper conditions for play to exist. What are these foundations, these aspects in our environment that can create the circumstance of a play element? And so, one of the things that he mentions is that one of the parameters of play is stepping out of the ordinary, stepping out of the real world into this mystical, magical space. And with that, really looking at the limitations that play has within time and space, and how play and these parameters of play kind of create this magic circle where it's like within this magic circle, play can exist. And for a certain amount of time, this magic circle is active. And I think, especially when we think of space, I think of like playgrounds or a chessboard or even a stage. And so when we're looking at these space parameters of play, play is within the confines of these spaces and during the time. So with playgrounds, you think of recess and how you have the magic circle in space of the playground and you have the time of recess to play. Or the chessboard. The chessboard is the magic circle, and then the game and the duration of chess is the limitation of time within these play parameters. And same with the stage. When you're watching a play or anything where you're watching performance, the play element is present before, or the play element is present during the performance, during whenever the stage is active. Not before, not after, but during. So I thought that was really interesting. And then also really looking at the tension that comes from integrating play or discerning the parameters of play. And when he mentions tension, he kind of talks about how tension in this context is through the lens of chance and the unknown. And I'm thinking of like, especially with games, you dive into a playful environment, unsure of who the winner is going to be, unsure of the outcome. Even when it's like a card game, you're not sure of what card you're going to pull next or who the next person's card is going to be. And so there's this exciting element of tension diving into chance and unknown and really opening up our opening up the possibility of the unknown, of divine spontaneity. And also looking at the rules. Don't get me wrong, I love a good unfettered play, no rules, unbound. But in this context, in this book, in this video, we're gonna keep the rule part as part of it. And when you play games, there are rules. That's how the play element stays alive in this magic bubble, devoid of time and space as we know it, and in its own realm of time and space. There's also rules to keep it up. And this kind of allows this enchantment and this illusion of play to kind of take over. And so, we're in this space outside of the ordinary, in this magic circle, following these special rules to the special play engagement, this play experience. And then something else I really enjoyed, especially around building these parameters of play, is how these things about play are magic and enchanting and fun until there's a spoil sport, which is a specific term he uses. And like a spoil sport, a cheater, someone who comes in and just like trespasses within the magic circle or just ignores the play parameters, ignores the rules, ignores the time and space, ignores the parameters in regards of the magic circle. And I just thought that was funny because as I'm doing this work and looking at play through these more deep lenses, I, of course, think back in my own life and the things that I see on the day to day basis. And I'm wondering, like, where were there these magic bubbles of play that were ruined by someone who doesn't want to follow the rules or is being malicious on purpose and kind of just sucks the fun out of the game? So it's really interesting because, of course, when we're looking at play, we're taking a step outside of traditional definition of games as we know and kind of looking at these other aspects of our life that have been um, created that may have been created in the circle and then ruined by someone who just like doesn't respect it. And so moving into and kind of following this path of the book, he then starts to explain, and this part I love, he then starts to explain the parallels between play and ritual, which, if you don't know by now, Carrie Sunshine and my identity as someone in the play space is that of magic, is that of spirituality, of the unknown, playing in the fringe of the ordinary. And that's why I call myself the play alchemist, because alchemy is very much rides that fine line between science and magic. What is widely acceptable and what is, a little bit on the unconventional side. And so I love that he explains and kind of goes into, and this is a trend that he follows throughout the book actually, is play as ritual. Play is ritual, and ritual is play. And when is play not ritual, and when is ritual not play? And so, really looking at all the different things in our culture that are ritual and subsequently also play. And so, he really shows that this element shows up as an integral molding in how we navigate a lot of the big cultural structures that we still abide by today. Things like war, law, education, poetry, myth making, art, philosophy, and how all of these things are have these elements of play through following these parameters, and also how a lot of these things are also ritual, which this was when my mind was like mind blown, because what do you mean? What do you mean these things are ritual? And I love that he really like breaks down what ritual and ceremony is, all the way from these parameters, these magic circles, to time and space specific, to then also these rules. And also, when we think of ritual, we think of also costumes, outfits, special garb, special regalia that we wear and don for specific ceremonies, for specific rituals. And also this element of contest and riddle making, which I love a good riddle. So this was also just like, yes, there is more to riddles than me just liking the way it sounds and using my brain in that space. And so one of these examples, he didn't necessarily put this in the book, but I was like, this is something that I guess is a a form of ritual that also have these play elements in there. And I think of graduation. In graduation, and this is also this litmus test to see if there are play elements in these culture making systems. And so let's examine a graduation ceremony, a coronation, if you will. We have the magic circle, the space where the graduation happens. That is now creating the space of ritual and play. And then we have time. So graduation happens, it starts and ends at a certain time. And also really looking at the rules. There are processes that happen in graduation. We all, all the students walk in. As students, you sit in these seats. Then we get speeches and hear from the dean, from the provost, from the principal, from the valedictorian, from a keynote speaker. And then next in the ritual, we move into the giving of the diploma. And so one by one, in our special costumes, if you've ever been a part of a graduation ceremony, you have your costume, which is a cap and gown, and you take it, you walk up one by one, you pick up your diploma as they call your name, and then at the end, there's the finalizing of said ritual when you take the tassel, you put it on the other side, you toss the hat up, whatever. And so really looking at like there's play elements and ritual elements in many of the things that we do today. And I want to now bring it into something more heavier, which is law, specifically a courtroom, the magic circle, the courtroom, the time and space in the courtroom. There's a certain time that is allotted in the special magic circle space to conduct this ritual, to play in a more serious tone. And their costumes. The judge has a costume, the judge has a robe, and their special tool, which is the gavel. They have a special position in the courtroom. And then we have these key players, attorneys, security, the jury, oh my gosh, I'm like not the best like court person, but like the plaintiff and the defendant, right? And, back in the day, the judge had their special wig. And now we go into contest, another parameter of play. And so at this point in this game, in this space, it's a contest of who could win the court case, who has the best argument, who has the most evidence. Not necessarily who's right, especially as we know and see in today's litigation system. It's who can argue the best, who can win over the judge, and who can persuade their judgment, right? And so really looking at, and there's that tension, who's going to win? There's so much unknown, but this unknown has dire consequences. And really looking at this play element within this ritual. And even war. And I don't want to like get into that as much, but there's still ritual and play elements within that. Though, yes, war is this weird blood ritual that is, destructive and ruins many lives. But at the end of the day, it's still a ritual. And this ritual still has play elements in it. And again, play is not synonymous with taking things lightly. Play now in this lens is just looking at what parameters make play and if it attributes to these other forms of culture making, and how even that has its order, has special positions, has certain rules, has certain costumes that we wear. And I will continue to use costumes because we're looking at it through play. And so, who's wearing the costumes? What are the roles? What are the rules? And when we look at war, the game of contest. Who can acquire? Who can win this butting of heads? And so I thought that was just really interesting because I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's so many things that are ritualistic that have shaped what we do today. And through that, there's a lot of games through these rituals that we play. Uh, but some of these games are, we don't have a choice, like going to court. We don't have a choice. I mean, I guess we do, but like maybe the consequences aren't like the best. But like these are serious culture games that we play. And yeah, war does result in bloodshed, but so does boxing. So does sports. And so it's like really just looking at these things through a wider lens and reminding ourselves that just because it's serious, just because there are real consequences, doesn't mean it's not playful. It just means that maybe that levity has been sucked out of it, which I'll get into in a little bit. So then he goes into like education and myth making and poetry and riddle making, and how the idea of riddles was a way to explain these more divine concepts. Where does the wind come from? How did the earth get created? Who is the god of the sun versus the god of the wind versus the god of the waters? And creating these stories and creating these myths and creating these riddles to explain these more bigger ideas, and also using this riddle making through contest. Whoever can solve this riddle wins the prize was very big. And even when you think of like the older or like the more like epic stories, and I think of like, gosh, I'm so bad at this. If you know what I'm talking about, please chime in. But like the two um the two like gatekeepers. I don't even know what story this is. I just know that I read it where one of the gatekeepers is like, one of us tells the truth and one of us always tells a lie. And then the other one says something else. But like this idea of using riddle making to explore these ideas that we don't have scientific explanation for, or through even just contests. Who's the smartest? Who can figure this out? Who has creative thinking skills? And then also, this personification of these divine concepts, and how riddle making has then moved into poetry, and how poetry is this wordplay on explaining these very existential, heavy, non tangible concepts. And how a lot of the philosophers, when they're creating these philosophies and these ideologies, communicated these complex thoughts and ideas through riddles, through poetry. And yeah, it's just really interesting to look at how contest, riddle making, costumes, magic circles have all played a role in these things that are still very much present and serious in today's society. I mean, I guess to kind of summarize this, I think my overall critique was that I thought it was highly insightful. Every page, well, the book was a little dry because I'm not a history person. So reading about wars and stuff, I was just like, I'm trying my best here to still see the magic in the message, even though I don't really want to read about wars and stuff like that. But I still thought it was highly insightful. I learned a lot. It was very academic. And I think like some of the other previous books I read maybe would be suited in like a sociology or a psychology class, versus this is very heavy in anthropology or history. So it was very different in that. And also, there was this insight considering, at least for me living in the United States, a lot of the culture here was heavily influenced from European culture. And so, how things were handled there in those times impacted and helped us and helped shape and mold how we navigate things today in this country. And yeah, it's very insightful to be to just see where the origin story came from. But there's huge gap missing from just not spending time talking about African culture, Black American culture, Latin American culture, indigenous culture, who use ritual and thus probably use the play element to build their very sophisticated and robust culture. And I just couldn't help but think of how these ideas and these parameters then translate into more of these diverse cultures, communities of color, and how then that can better form and create a more well-rounded understanding about how the play element shapes culture. But again, book in 1920s by Dutch translator. So whatever. But now it opened up questions for me of like, what books do exist out there that do talk about play culture in a similar lens, but also brings in the very important and very vital perspectives of these other cultures. Now, don't get me wrong, the book does bring in these other cultures that aren't necessarily European, but they're kind of, I think it's more heavily on like Buddhist and Indian cultures. And I think that's kind of as far as it gets. I think he also mentions like maybe Japanese and Chinese cultures a little bit. But again, handful of background, really missing so much other insight. And so that is my one qualm, other than him continuing to refer to these other cultures as savage or archaic, which I'm just like, different topic for different day. But it's very interesting to read this book because it was a test on separating the wheat from the chaff. What are these golden nuggets that I can take? And what is this other stuff that is irrelevant and kind of ignorant in viewpoint? Really, when we're looking at world culture, we all influence each other. But it was still eye-opening to have the play element explained and integrated through these more serious cultural lenses, i.e., war and law and education and stuff like that. And so my final takeaway was this really did deepen my understanding of play. And it really affirmed what I already felt about play, in that it's more than just, I'm going to do something fun. No. How has play been an integral part in the world, in how we understand ourselves as human, how we understand and connect with spirituality, and how it just kind of goes past a jovial activity, but viewing it in this depth of it being vital to how we look at culture. And so it was really nice to just feel affirmed, because it's one of those things where I know once I have a cool new idea that I assume that it has already been done before. I just have to find who did it, what it is, and what words have been used to substitute play. In this case, play was in the title. But it was really nice, and it's just it just reaffirms to me that there is heavier work that can be done, and someone was already in that space already. And so my brain has already started being fizzy about how to integrate what I just read into the work and what I do and what I teach and what I share now. Um, so yeah, maybe this inspires you to read more about it, read the book, or just think about play in this more cultural lens, and how play shaped shapes the world that we live in now. Oh, one more thing. Something else I found interesting was that, because I was like, okay, but some of this doesn't really reflect how we are now. And he attributes some of that to Stoicism, and how the idea of being serious was the way to go. And people were like, yeah, you're right. Let's take all the fun, ritualistic, fanfare, ceremonial qualities out of this thing, and now let's just do it for material gain. Let's do it for ego. Let's do it because emotional intelligence is lacking. The idea of having good sportsmanship maybe doesn't apply anymore. I don't know, but I just thought that was interesting too, because yeah, we do a lot of these ritualistic games in our culture, and we take it very seriously. I mean, even sports, like we know sports and games are supposed to be fun. We're literally watching people play, and yet poor sportsmanship. Now we're getting into fights on whose team's better and all this extra mess, and just totally sucking that play element out of it. And now it's just like barbaric, barbaric song of the ego. So yeah, cool stuff. Don't hate it. Kind of love it. Homo Ludens, a study of the play element in culture. Have you read it? Let me know. Are you gonna read it? Let me know. I love talking about this kind of stuff. So I invite you to dive into that. Okay, so let's move into the play philosophy of the week. The play philosophy of the week is, you know, that phrase where someone's like, take a walk in their shoes, or if you could take a walk in their shoes, and like this kind of metaphorical take on empathy. Well, if someone had to walk a day in your shoes, what shoes would they put on? Coming from me, I love shoes. I have a solid collection of shoes. I try and have a pair for every occasion, for every season, without going too overboard, because it is a slippery slope. But I mean, even with that, what shoes would they put on if someone had to take a walk in your shoes? Literally, but also like metaphorically, figuratively speaking. What does that look like? Are they putting on running shoes? Are they putting on slippers? Are they putting on some fashionable Nike collector's edition sneakers? Are they putting on some Louis Vuitton? They're putting on some red bottom heels, some stilettos. Are they putting on Doc Martens? What kind of shoes? What kind of shoes are these? Flip flops? Slides? What kind of shoes are these people putting on if they had to take a walk in your shoes? And then now I want to like push push that play element a little bit and be creative with what these shoes actually look like. And it doesn't have to like fit what shoes you actually have, but really looking at the type of shoes, but then like some embellishments. For example, I think if someone had to take a walk in my shoes, it would definitely be a classic Converse Chuck Taylor because that's like my default shoe. Like I literally wear that shoe all the time. Dirty, broken, well, okay, toss them out and get another pair. If it's not a Converse, it's definitely a Vans sneaker. And these sneakers probably have some sort of colorful design on them. I'm just thinking of like metaphorically. Also, I do have some Vans that are pretty. But also it's like I'm a creative. So these shoes have to reflect creative expression. So yeah, these shoes are going to have colorful swirls and fun shoelaces. They're also going to be platform because we are a gal of style and fashion and elevation. So a little platform and also have some arch support in there because we care about posture and keeping our joints tip top shape. So have some arch support in there. But I also want like the bottom of the shoes to light up because I think light up shoes are fun and I wish they made more of them for adults, but they don't. But I do like to have that element of wow. As a play person. Light up shoes are playful. And so I think if someone had to take a walk in my shoes, they would be some artsy, fun, colorful Converse with fun shoelaces, arch support, platforms, platforms that light up. So what would your shoe look like? Think about that. If someone had to take a walk in your shoes, what would be the shoes that they would walk in? All right. Now let's switch it up and start wrapping it up with this or that. What this or that is I give you a choice of fun intuition game. You pick whichever hand resonates with you the most. I reveal what each hand represents and we dive into what that means. And if any of that information, insight, or anything resonates with where you are in your life right now, or anything that can spark some sort of inspiration, aha moment, or just entertainment. All right, so let's do it. Two hands, pick one, don't think too hard, just pick the one that you want to go with first. Okay, perfect. So, if you chose this hand, you got the jellyfish. And if you chose this hand, you got a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. See, jelly. The jelly similarities. Okay. So anyways, if you chose a jellyfish, then, I invite you to think about jellyfish. They're buoyant. They go with the flow in the water. They just follow the current and they are just there in their jellyfish state, just doing their jellyfish movements. One of a kind. One of a kind sea creatures that only exist in the sea and only look like how they look. The jellyfish looks like an extraterrestrial. Maybe you feel like out of this world. Maybe you feel like you don't belong. Also looking at jellyfish, there are many types of jellyfish. Many types. In fact, I just read an article somewhere where they just discovered like more jellyfish. I was like, yes. And they look just as majestical and weird as the other jellyfish. So really examining um, the vast amount of jellyfish that exist and are still being discovered. Maybe there's aspects of yourself. Maybe you're multifaceted. Maybe you have many aspects of yourself, but yet there's still more to discover about yourself. Um, Also, jellyfish are very jelly like and basically liquid. I think they're like 98% water. But you step on one, it can ruin a beach day really quick. So maybe like not taking, understanding that just because something is light and buoyant, like a jellyfish, it still packs a punch. It still can, still could bite you. Maybe you resonate with that. Maybe you're someone that, goes with the flow and is very airy and, just goes about your way. But if someone crosses your path, it may sting them. So really thinking about that as well. And also, jellyfish exist only in the ocean, as far as I know. I don't think there's jellyfish that exist in freshwater. So maybe you shine bright and exist in certain environments. Um, and jellyfish exist in the deep ocean and also in shallow waters. So depth knows no bounds for jellyfish. And also, jellyfish are one of the few, if not only, immortal animals. As in, jellyfish can live forever, so long as they're not like obviously eaten. Like if you eat it, if something eats a jellyfish, obviously, obviously it's not immortal anymore. But unfettered, jellyfish can live forever. And so, really thinking about, are there aspects of yourself that are immortal, that will exist past your mortality? And if not, is this an invitation for you to create what we can call a legacy for right now? What kind of jellyfish are you providing? Are you said jellyfish? Jellyfish. Yes, I was thinking of SpongeBob and jellyfish fields, um, and how he loved to catch jellyfish. But also, like, he better watch his back because they will zap him. Yes. I'm also thinking of that one episode of SpongeBob where like he took one in and then he started having like a whole party and they were just like totally unhinged until Gary created this new song and then it slowly led them out of SpongeBob's house and back into the jellyfish field. So maybe there's something chaotic in your life right now that is the jellyfish in SpongeBob's basement blasting music. What is that new thing, that new tempo that you can create to kind of re-navigate that chaos into something more manageable? I don't even know if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I just said a bunch of words. But yeah, jellyfish. So now, if you chose this hand, you get the peanut butter and jelly. So peanut butter and jelly is one of those snacks that, or one of those meals. We'll call it a meal. It's a sandwich. It's one of those. The first thing I think of with peanut butter and jelly is that it's adaptable. Like you could take it for lunch and you don't have to worry about refrigerating it. There's no meats and cheeses in there to like spoil or potentially make you sick. It's peanut butter and jelly. You can have it cold, you can have it room temp. You could even have like a toasted peanut butter and jelly. And it's good. It's still good. I'm also thinking of the versatility of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, yeah, you can choose various types of bread. You can also choose like a million jellies. It could be jelly. It could be a preservative. It could be a preserve. It could also be marmalade. And then you have all the different fruits. You have strawberry jam, grape jelly. You have like apricot. You have so many. You can even like mix it up and have like a pepper jelly. But then you also have different types of peanut butter. You have like the crunchy peanut butter, smooth peanut butter, almond butter, all the butters. So there's all these different combinations that you can combine and still have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for like the base definition of it. So really thinking about what that means for you. Are you the peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Is there some aspect in your life that is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Is there an aspect in your life that is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that you've only been using the same bread, jelly, and peanut butter with? And would behoove you to explore these different breads, jellies, peanut butters, temperatures in this aspect. Walk with me here. We are very much in this metaphorical realm here. We're really examining just like how classic and like clutch a peanut butter and jelly is. Like, yes, if you're hungry, that's a solid snack, solid meal. And so thinking about peanut butter and jelly in that way, but also looking at peanut butter and jelly as a merging of two opposing sensations. Bread aside, but peanut butter is like this like thick, thirst-inducing substance. It's like yes, and but it serves its purpose because then you have jelly, which is very gelatinous, very light and fruity, and yeah, just very light in how the makeup. And so when peanut butter and jelly work together, it creates this one of a kind flavor profile sensation. And you have to have like the right amount of peanut butter and jelly, and everyone's amount is different. And everyone likes peanut butter and jelly sandwich in different ways. And so, really looking at how maybe two seemingly unrelated things actually together make something brand new that's amazing. Think about that. And if there's anything in your life that resonates with that, or also, I think of like our light and our shadow selves and how we kind of seem to not want to look and at one side, but when we combine our shadow and our light together, we get wholeness. We get self-actualization. But really looking at like, are you merging the peanut butter and jelly of your life, of yourself, of your understanding together? Maybe the idea or the inspiration or the next step you're looking for is really combining these two seemingly unrelated things. Because outside of peanut butter and jelly, you have peanut butter, which is its own thing. And then you have jelly, which is its own thing. And then you combine it together, and now it's a whole new thing that really does complement one another. So, yeah, peanut butter and jelly sandwich and jellyfish. Yeah. Hopefully, you found some insight from the one you chose, or both. Whatever. Anyways, this is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you for watching. And of course, thank you for playing.